Welcome to Alpha Marketing, your go-to resource for unlocking the full potential of your small to medium-sized business. Hosted by Aaron Shishilla, CEO of Wolfpack Advising. Now, let's learn how to dominate your market.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Marketing Alpha Podcast. Today, I have a really exciting guest, and that guest is Jasmine, also known as Jasmine PestPro. Jasmine PestPro is actually from New York. She's a pest control operator, and today we're talking about how to build 200,000 in monthly reach without spending a dime on ads. So we're talking to someone who turned pest control and personal branding into a hyper-local marketing machine. Jasmine didn't buy followers, run ads, or hire an agency like Wolfpack Advising. Jasmine did her own thing. She just showed up, told real stories, hit over 200,000 impressions per month organically, just naturally from doing her thing. So if you're a service-based business wondering how can you win on Facebook or social media in general on a budget, this is the person you need to talk to. And I'm honestly, Jasmine, I'm so stoked to talk to you too, because I want to learn everything and do it for my own personal social media. So tell me a little bit of backstory. How did you get started in pest control and what's been going on now?
Yeah, sure. So, I went to school for commercial advertising and then I didn't put it to use at all. I ended up having kids really young and I ended up working for customer service for Verizon Wireless. But at that time, smartphones were a brand new thing and Verizon's customer service was amazing. So they taught me really great customer service. But then I had my second daughter and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom and I dove into photography and I didn't really go to school at all for photography. It was just something I picked up. But retrospectively, when I look back, my work was very beautiful and people were telling me all the time. But because I didn't go to school for it and my competitors in photography were like professionals, I didn't feel professional. And so I just judged myself so much. And so as soon as my kids got old enough to go to school, I was like, I'm going to get a real job. I'm going to drop this photography thing and get a real job. And I had done really great customer service. So I started applying for customer service positions and I ended up applying through Craigslist to a pest control company. And they ended up hiring me and had no marketing at all. And I literally begged and begged and begged. And finally, they handed me over this marketing role, which I had to pair with many other hats, which greatly kind of led me into what I do now
So
with
I guess
my
you never
marketing.
really thought you'd be going into pest control.
Oh, I don't know if anybody does, but yeah, definitely didn't. But it is in line with me. I was a free range kid and an outdoors kid, so it's something that when it was presented to me, it was very engaging. And there's a lot to be said to the old way of Exodus back then. Like they really sat down and trained people to understand the Exodus way of pest control, and it was so in-depth and engaging, and I just retaught what was taught to me in an engaging way.
Absolutely amazing. And I can say, I never thought I'd really be getting involved in pest control. Here I am. At least although I feel like I have a little bit of a distance with it, which is healthy for me because I have a phobia of bugs. So like anything that flies and is an insect, I will scream like a little girl.
I get that though. Like I feel that way with spiders, and somehow I'm slowly overcoming it. But I get to kill them from a distance, and it doesn't. I know, but it's really good.
So, in your early days when you started getting into marketing, was it social media that you leaned into, or what did you lean into?
Yeah, so actually, even as far back as the photography, that really taught me how to utilize Facebook, and the language of Facebook has evolved over time so much, but a lot of it is still rooted in the same way. And it's like if you can create candidness or community, that's what the core of Facebook originally was. So if you're speaking community, you're still speaking the language of Facebook. There's just little tweaks to the way you're speaking to community and personal that make it show up a little better for you. But back in the photography day, I would take pictures of a family. They'd look really beautiful. I'd have so many I would want to share, but I'd rein it into just a few, because when people have tons of options, they get overwhelmed. So just a few pictures that would tell a story. So if I did a mini session on a lemonade stand mini session, I do a picture, really cute picture of the kids. So that would be the main focus. And then I do their little hands holding a glass of lemonade, lemonade slices just floating, and then like maybe a farther out picture of the lemonade stand as a whole. So people believed they were getting a story. And essentially then I would tag their family in it, so their family would see my content. And I would engage with them. Oh, I love your pictures. They're so beautiful. So they would really love their pictures and also create friendship with me. And then I would share it. At the time, I would share it in garage sale posts. Be like, oh, I'm doing these mini sessions. If you were interested in mini sessions too, jump on board. And so, or I'd share it in moms groups, because that moms were my target audience. So I'd share it in moms groups, and that would help put me in the right place. So I learned it back in photography. Now things have changed. Like, it's a whole lot harder to dive into sharing in these garage sale posts and things like that, because now everybody's trying to market in these things. And so there's a little bit more of a block, but there's definitely ways that you can do this, speak that same language in those groups. And so, I just really duplicated that into the pest control realm. And I also am starting to do this for other businesses. I work with a power washing company and a church, and it's very easy, like two different, it's different from pest control, but very similar, because you're just talking to that specific community.
You mentioned the word, like, it's focused on community. Could you tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that? Because you're talking about how, like, the way you approach it is different and has changed, but the concept is the same of community. What do you mean?
Yes. Yeah. So, separate from photography, but then more in the pest control realm, the first pest control Facebook page I built that wasn't a website. So that's two different things. So I created the company's site on Facebook, so it had its own Facebook page, as it would. But then we also created me as a content creator, and the two of them worked together. But the language of the business on Facebook wants you to boost. So its algorithm is always going to try and direct you to a way that they're going to make money off of you. I believe I wasn't in ownership there. I didn't really know their budget, but I believed I didn't have a budget. So I was trying to say, like, how could I get myself in front of people without spending money? And I knew I could do that from the personal level. So it was early stages of influencer before influencer was really a thing, because this was probably like 9 years ago that we started doing it. And so I first I had that business page going, and we would put content up there, but it was very like business, like ads, like little ads and things like that, where on the influencer side, we could be more personal. And when I first did it, I cast a net to my friends and my family. And I said, hey, I'm starting this Facebook page. It's pest control related. I don't want to spam you, but I would love for you to be involved if you want to be. And a handful of my family and friends actually like joined on the page. So then I looked like a real person, and I started just sharing content and introducing myself, so I would look like a real person. But then I started being intentional in targeting people I wanted, my target audience. So like I would for moms groups, I started specifically reaching out to people that I thought would purchase pest control or influence people to purchase my pest control. So I friend requested as many realtors as I could, because realtors are selling houses, and if their houses have a problem, then they're going to end up like referring people to me if my content is engaging and I'm connecting with them. Or if a house their client is moving into has a problem, they're more likely to refer me. Or if their clients have a problem and they're like, hey, like this is going on, they're more likely. So, and also they want to be friends with everybody, because they're also trying to sell. And so they're willing to accept your friend request blindly. So every single realtor I could find in the Rochester area, I sent. Then I started targeting like important, like iconic Rochester people. So, like there's this guy, Rich Eyed, he owns a car dealership. I sent Rich Eyed a friend request and he accepted my friend request. And then sorry, Rich. Then I combed through Rich's friends and I started picking out other iconic people or people that looked like they would be motivated to spend money or would be like people that would want to spend money on pest control, and started sending friend requests to them. Then I started finding people so I like dote on other people all the time, or I'll dote on products all the time because it actually serves me. So then I would search out like lawn care people, painters, power washers, things like that. And I could be like, oh, this great, AC company is out doing this, that, or the other thing. This lawn care company is out doing this, that, or the other thing. By doing that and being their friend, they think like, oh, this lady loves us. So they're happy to do a connection with me. But I know that whoever their following is now also my following because I'm putting myself in front of them. And they think all I'm doing is being nice, which in a sense I am being nice, but I know that their following is going to follow me. So I also did that with Birchmeier. Our company at the time used Birchmeier products, and I would be like showing off my Birchmeier backpack all the time. And then all of a sudden Birchmeier started sending me backpack sprayers. They sent me like their mosquito sprayer, which at the time was crazy expensive. And really though, like at the time it felt like Birchmeier was a little bit of a cult product. Like people really liked Birchmeier. So by doing that, I was also putting myself in front of all the people that also like Birchmeier. And that's kind of how I started to then build my realm within pest control. And then I also started finding my groups within pest control, like Pest Cemetery or Pest Control Humor. And I also did recently, unrelated to that, I had cast this like survey out asking people a whole bunch of questions on pest control. And one of the things when I took all the analytics and threw it into ChatGPT, like one of the top things on ChatGPT is that the pest control industry is humorous, and we are. So I started just finding any humorous way I could connect with them, but also in all those like humor groups, everybody's in it and they're so lighthearted that I was then able to build community there too. But by making all these little involvements, and even like if somebody comments on my stuff, I'll typically be like anything. I'll be like, prayer hands, clapping hands, thank you so much. Oh, this is great. I love that on my posts. But then I'll actually like usually it's before I go to bed, but I'll just scroll through anything. Somebody had a baby. Happy birthday, little baby. Somebody got a new cat. Oh, that is so cute. Like just to show up on their stuff, because again, if you're showing up on their stuff, they think you're interacting, and especially posts where people aren't interacting with it, because then they really notice you and they're really more likely to circle back to you. So I do devote like probably 5 minutes a day just to put like a comment on random posts as I scroll through. But also doing that speaks the algorithm of Facebook, because they just want to know you're involved, and then they'll keep giving your content like attention, because you're not just like throwing ads up, but it believes you're a real person. And that's why it's a whole lot easier to do all of this under an influencer account set up as a person instead of a business, because when you set it up as a business, again, it doesn't believe you're a real person. It just believes you're advertising. So how I make the two things marry really well. I did this better at Exodus. I also do this, I think, better at like the church account and also at the power washing account. And I think it's because they're not my company, so it's a whole lot easier to do it. Is I will then take their influencer and the company will share the influencer, or vice versa, depending on the content. The influencer will share the company's content. So for instance, I know if like your performance on Facebook will give you suggestions on what it wants you to do. If you're making an attempt to do that, you're speaking the language it wants you to speak. So like, I think you can do just fine ignoring that. Plenty of people do. But when you do try and meet those boxes,
you're talking about the suggestions.
It benefits you.
That, like, so when you create a creator profile, it gives you like goals and achievements. Yeah, like, is what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, yep. And so when you're in there and you're just trying, I'm going to bring mine up really quick, but when you're under there and you try and do those suggestions, it will just inherently speak that language. So I will, sometimes it will say like my business page has to share a reel to a group or something like that. I will upload a reel, or I'll want that reel to really perform on my business page and it won't. So I'll upload the reel to my business page, but Jasmine PestPro will share it to a pest control group. So then the pest control groups will be like really crazy on it. And that will make the business page perform, but it will also like amp it up for the week. I'll notice if I do that early in the week, the rest of the week, my business page will perform. But I can do that same thing in local Rochester groups. It can't necessarily be garage sale posts, or if it is, it has to be candid. So that's the difference. In the past, I used to be able to share an advertisement in one of those groups and it would be fine. Now they'll be like, you can't advertise. So I'll share something that will be me out like spraying or something. And I'll be like, wow, this weather is amazing. I'm so happy to be out here. Like the sun feels so good. And then all of a sudden it just speaks a different language to them. And they're like, the weather is really nice. And actually more people will interact with the fact that it's nice, but subliminally they're absorbing that this pest control company is cool and this girl is like out doing sprays and stuff like that. So that actually is speaking the language better than it would be if it were
question for you.
The
Two
ad
questions.
anyway.
The first one, it sounds like you're, especially at the beginning, you were spending a ton of time like interacting and friend requesting a ton of different people. And then the second part two of that is how much time, and then where are you getting these content ideas? Because that you're talking about one half of the algorithm being like a real person interacting, trying to do the Facebook achievements, making friend requests. How do you complete the other half, which is actually posting good content?
Okay, so a lot of people my age and up aren't actually using TikTok. And so I don't use TikTok for much advertising, but I use it for content ideas. And I follow a lot of other creators in like trades. And it's when you're following these other trades creators, it's a lot easier to take their content and recreate it as your own. And that's what I'm essentially doing. So I'll find like a trendy sound and I'll save it. And then later when it like applies to me, I'll make a video. So I think there was something recently I shared. I can't remember offhand, but it essentially was something like that. Like I had that sound saved forever. And it was the snow. It was like, shut your dirty little face. I actually say that sound all the time, but when it happened, I was in the snow and I thought like, shut your dirty little face. And I was like, now's the time. And it took me I did it all in one take. Maybe it took me 2 takes because I was doing I was trying to move my mouth with it, but I still messed it up and it wasn't that bad, but it was still funny enough. Well, you take something like that and share it in Facebook, and the Facebook realm of people they're just like their kids are on TikTok. They're not on TikTok. So when they see it, it's like the funniest thing ever. They're seeing it for the first time. So I'm really just resharing content, but people don't realize I'm resharing content. But sometimes I'm getting creative. Like a lot of the time I hear these sounds and I'm like I don't think I did Shania Twain, like for the bed bugs. It's like, this is really bad or something. When I looked through those videos, nothing was like my videos, but I thought, this is how I can use it. And I have I'm also working pest control, so I do have a lot of drive time. It gives me quite a bit of time to actually think on it. So I'm doing these things. A lot of these things I'm doing on the fly. as far as time that I'm devoting to it daily, I think it is less than an hour. But in the beginning, it's a little more because you're like when I'm sitting down on the computer and I'm taking the time to friend request all those people and whatnot. But I attribute that, like, say you're building a website. When you're building your website, you have to devote a lot of time to it or whatever. But then after a while, you're like, oh, blog post, I'm going to throw that out. Oh, blog, or something, you know, it doesn't act, you don't have to stay connected to it because you're already a snowball rolling. And it might not even be an hour. Like, for instance, I am resharing content a lot and people don't realize it. And B, I can get like today, I did 3 sprays before this podcast. I got pictures at my first spray. I just had my camera like filming me actually spraying at my second spray. And then I set my phone down and did a slow motion for this next one. I can just piece that up until multiple days and preset them all now for later in the week if I want to. And then if something really interesting shows up that I think will perform well, I just cast that immediately. And then I just pay attention to where I'm sharing it. So that way it will make it perform.
What do you say, shifting gears just a little bit, what do you say to those people that are just like, well, like, I can't see return on investment on social media, or like the ones that are demanding a return on investment, or just, I guess, go in with that idea because, like, for example, advertising, it's very clear. You know, we provide an exact return on investment. You know how many leads you got, what you closed, what you didn't, and the exact dollar value. What's your take on the return for your time in social media?
So when I was at Exodus, they were getting ready to sell, and the question came up, who owned Jasmine Exodus at the time, and I had literally just asked for a raise because of that, and they told me she had no value because they couldn't prove she had value. But as soon as they wanted to own her, she had value. So I think it is something that it's more of brand awareness, and there's companies out there that are aware of how their brand awareness really is powerful for them, and those are the people that are going to also value their social media, because a lot of this is just subliminal, but like they have banned certain subliminal advertising, and essentially because I'm just a small marketing person, I'm doing those techniques. It's just not like caught on the level of Pepsi being banned from doing it. I'm just subliminally always showing up so people believe, like they see my logo. Like I have like a stupid little reel of the company and me and songs in the background, and I'll share it whenever I don't have a story going up. I'll just share it because it doesn't really matter. Like sometimes my stories perform, but really my stories are just something to catch people's eyes, and so like that. But they'll see it. It'll just pop up and get traction at random. Or my truck is also that way. Like people are out there saying, well, our trucks aren't catching because there's no way of tracking that. We know our trucks that are really wrapped are eye-catching and creating that brand awareness. So there's people that will leave money on the table in different areas. There's probably ways I leave money on the table in different areas too, but they just build their muscle somewhere else. This is just how I built my muscle.
So you would attribute social media essentially just being your brand awareness, your megaphone. And I do 100% agree with you. Like, I think a lot of business owners think of marketing and want to spend money and then see the exact return on investment. And that's really easy at the end of the funnel. But as you mentioned, doing the broad awareness stuff first, so they kind of be aware of your brand. Even if the vehicle wraps don't necessarily convert, it doesn't mean that somebody sees your vehicle wrap a couple times, and then after the fact, when they actually need a pest control company, they go to search pest control companies and see your name pop up and remember you from that wrap. Is that exactly kind of like what you're going with?
I think so, but also like it maybe is something I could even cut out of my marketing once I'm bigger, but it's such a prominent tool because I'm so small that and also being free. There's so many places that really do draw from my budget that I have to put money into, and this costs me next to nothing and grows me huge. So not finally in a good way, but it is a little bit changing. But I have a form because my company is still so small that every time a new customer comes in, they are asked to fill out the form. They can't submit the form to me unless they tell me how they heard of me. And I would document that every single time in field routes. So I know how every customer comes to me. And it has been up until maybe February, 60% or more had came to me through Facebook, or a friend from Facebook told them about me. So that, I think, speaks so much to how many of my customers are actually coming to me that way. If I had started as a brand new company without having that, how would I be putting myself in front of people?
I have a few last couple questions for you before we conclude here. This is more of like a personal question, which is, obviously you're using social media a ton for your professional life. Do you think that you have a personal life outside and like a separate space on your own social media?
People laugh at this, but I reference Jasmine PestPro as she, and like she's her own identity. And it's strange to me. So I have my own personal Facebook, and I mostly share my kids. I mostly share my faith and like weird stuff. I think I'm a weird person on my personal Facebook. Where it's strange is in the Rochester area, people will come talk to me as they know Jasmine PestPro, and my kids will hear these interactions, and afterwards they're like, bro, like what was it? And they laugh so hard. But like we were at a hibachi restaurant with, sorry if you hear me, person, somebody that recognized me, and like you're sitting at a table with what's supposed to be strangers, but then they recognize me as Jasmine PestPro and they'll like talk business with me, and that's fine. But I just think I probably am more reserved and quiet in my real life. So I'm like, oh, okay, now how do I have this conversation or whatever? So it is weird, but I think that there's plenty of times I turn off like my Jasmine PestPro. And so somebody had told me of a friend of theirs in the pest control industry in my groups of people. And the person got mad at me unknown to me because I wasn't like engaging with them as a friend. But I think that speaks to my marketing, and that I'm treating it like marketing. I'm not treating it like it truly is my social connection, where I'm on my personal Facebook page. I actually am engaging with my friends on there and my like local community. But like I said, also, I'll go and just like comment really quick comments in like 5 minutes just to say to the algorithm I'm interacting, but I'm not necessarily always socially connecting. When I shared those little baseball cards on my profile recently, those are like the pest control people that like sank into my mind in all of this. And I guess I would consider them my friends, but like I still don't actually put enough focus on them to the point where somebody got mad at me, unbeknownst to me, for not connecting with them. But it's just because like I'm living a whole life here. It's hard.
Okay.
So it is
Last question I have for you. What is the number one mistake that you see people doing when they're trying to, let's just say, copy or replicate or do whatever that you do? What is the number one mistake? And for anybody that is like wanting to do it right now, I know we talked about a ton of different things, but if you were to give them one piece of advice to say, you're going to go out and do this, what would be that one piece of advice too?
Okay, so the mistakes I see are kind of like 3 different mistakes. They'll share, so not to throw my church account under the bus, but I share this role with somebody else, and they will share videos that are like 4 minutes long of pictures that are just like scrolling through a loop, and people aren't that focused. They don't want to focus for that long. So content that like you just love, you have to hold the reins in it and just share a few of them, because people will be overwhelmed by too much and they'll just tune out. Like they care about you, but they don't. Then people that share horizontal videos or pictures, never do it ever again. Never. Like, always share vertically. People are holding a cell phone. If you look at your analytics, they're barely on the tablet. They're barely on the computer. They're holding a cell phone, which is vertical. And you just have it's like real estate you're wasting if you're doing horizontally versus vertically. And also the algorithm knows. So it's not even a bother putting you in front of people because you're not speaking its language. And then, another local pest control company to me has amazing content. Like, they take really great videos. Their photos are really great, but they turn them into ads every single time. Like, every single one. I literally scrolled through, these people this week, and every single post has their logo on it or has like a bar across the bottom with like wording and whatever. And people don't want to be sold to. They will know you. They'll love your quirky videos. They'll love your content and remember you for just being a good people versus needing, and like this is sufficient, versus needing that advertisement stuck onto it. And so I would stop doing that. And then, the essential thing to do is to post consistently, whether it's like 3 times a week, once a week, or every single like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Be consistent with it, and then talk to the people that are interacting with you, because they're gonna just remember you. They're gonna believe you're interacting with them, and the algorithm's gonna believe.
It's beautiful advice and strong advice. I really hate the logos that people add to there are always the bottom bar with the phone numbers or something, or the website. That really grinds my gears. And solid advice, I feel like a lot of people give up too quickly, when sometimes like you have to look kind of silly and like an idiot for like a solid month until you learn how to do it right, including myself. So I'm really speaking to myself there. But to conclude here, where can people find Jasmine PestPro? Where can people find you?
Primarily on Facebook. I'm going to pay attention to you the most if you're interacting with me on Facebook. My company's number is currently my cell phone, and plenty of people call me. I do have people try and interact with me through TikTok, and sometimes I notice them and sometimes I don't. But something funny on that end is I have a springtail video that has like, 500,000 interactions on it. But people from all over the world call my company number and talk to me about that. So it is what it is. But yeah, I am very helpful. This is advice that I tell to everybody and don't even really try to capitalize on. But what I've noticed is a lot of people don't want to follow through with doing it because they're busy. And I get it. Like, this is something I geek out on. I'm very ADHD, and it's my hobby I really enjoy. But there's also are a lot of people out there that will geek out on this for you. And I don't mind giving the advice to people. And
awesome.
So just
thank you so much, Jasmine PestPro, for being here. Everybody that's listening to Marketing Alpha, I hope to hear or see you on the next one. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Alpha Marketing. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other business owners and marketers. Your support enables us to continue bringing you actionable advice and the tools you need to thrive. Join us next time for more insights with Aaron Shishilla, and keep striving to be the alpha in your market.